I started riding BMX probably like anybody, you know. I got a bike when I was a kid, and it was something I just tooled around, rode around the neighborhood just to get away from the house. I'm from Whittier, you know, from East Los Angeles area. So when I was a kid, I'd just take off with my buddies and ride my bike around all day, you know, whenever just get out of the house and take off, and it just kind of progressed. The more I got into it, the kids down the street built a ramp. So I caught myself over there riding this ramp with the older guys, you know, and just stayed with it. Started racing, did that for a few years, but even racing, it was just more of an excuse to go to the track and ride with my buddies. It's like jumping. You go to the track and end up kind of just finding different transfers or stuff on the track to jump. And so I ended up doing this dirt jump contest, and after doing that, that was it. Kind of stopped racing as much. I'd go to the races, they would have the dirt jump contest, because back in the day they used to be together, like, you know. So I started going to the contest more than the races, and that was all she wrote.
So it's kind of cool. There's always been, like, you know, riders like that have lived in this area that have like kind of stepped out and built stuff.
With BMX and the car stuff, there's a lot of relationships and friendships kind of were just such a parallel. So many people are into BMX or into hot rods or vice versa. How many of my friends that I met from BMX, with like years down the road, you know, are now building cars or working in the automotive industry, or, you know, I had team managers when I was younger that are now, you know, editors of some of the magazines. It's that culture always kind of shares the same, like, you know, similarity, you know, and so many of the guys that I rode BMX with in the earlier days are, you know, totally vested in the motorcycle world, or, you know, building custom cars or whatever. And it's been pretty cool. Like, I've always been so head down riding my bicycle, and the passion for that's never changed. So, like, now that I'm getting older and doing a lot more stuff with the cars, to still, you know, work with some of the same people is pretty cool. Never had you know, a garage, or, you know, like, how do you say, like a father figure or anybody that was into cars, so they just seem so far detached. They seem so far away. They go, like, you know, getting this old car, learning how to work on them, or keeping it on the road. So I didn't buy my first car, old car, till I was probably 20, 21 years old or something. I bought a Lincoln Continental 65. I was driving through town, and it was just sitting in the driveway with a for sale sign on it, and I ended up driving it home. I think I bought it for like $1,500, and I took it home, and everything worked. Like, it ran all right, it stopped, the windows and everything worked, and sure enough, I tore the whole damn thing apart, and it was just such an uphill battle. I fought with that Lincoln to get it all back together, and it turned out to be a pretty cool car. And that's how I got started, and then it just kind of snowballed. I got a shoebox, I got a 50 Ford, and every time I would start a project or get into another one, I'd always want to start another one. I was just like learning so much, and it was I just jumped around too much. I still jump around too much, obviously, but so I mocked it up with the 350. Originally, I was kind of going to slap this car together and run it a little rough. It was kind of going to be a beater to rip around town. And like most project, as it comes together, I kind of put a little more time and more energy into it, and it took a little more shape than originally had planned. So now I'm just going to finish this whole thing off pretty nice. So I'm going to readjust, like, the, you know, the way the body fits on the frame here, and build custom hood sides, and kind of tuck this 350 away, and I'll kind of dress it down a little bit to make it look a little more vintage. At this point, like having these fin valve covers and this air cleaner, they're more for mock-up, just so I can, you know, I can measure off them and whatnot. But I'll build a really cool, you know, air cleaner setup, and get a profile all set down a little bit lower. Kind of tuck away a lot of this 4-barrel. Like, you know, on the 31, I have Rochester set up on the offie intake, so I have way cooler induction system on that car. But with the 4-barrel, it should be a lot easier to tune and get a little more performance out of it. So the whole idea is to kind of dress it down, make it look a little more vintage or kind of old school than it is. I met good friends early on that were going to contests and going to races and doing stuff, so I kind of just jumped in with them, and things grew, like I said, pretty naturally. Just going to, you know, a series of contests and getting invited to bigger contests, and then luckily having the support some pretty good sponsors at the time when I was really young, helping with travel, stuff like that. So I was never overly competitive with going to contests. Contests were always an excuse to get to go with like my buddies and fly to a new place and ride some new jumps. And I think at that time, in the earlier days, contests, nobody took them as serious. This is, you're talking like mid to late 90s. Like, it was more fun. The prize money was small. X Games was new. Televised events were pretty new at the time, or kind of coming back. BMX was kind of regrowing as it kind of tapered off in the early 90s. So I remember going to contests and just having a good time. It was way more of an excuse to see everybody and travel and whatnot. I was pretty fortunate to have a little more momentum in the earlier days, and like I said, with good sponsors and coming into those bigger events. And I never won any major events. I never won any of the big ones. I was pretty fortunate just to stay busy and get to go film and shoot, and that was always my goal, was just to go to the next spot or go ride with my buddies and ride new stuff. So it happened with a Chevy pickup. I bought a 50 little Chevy pickup off a buddy who started it, and I always liked those old 47 to 54 Chevy pickups, and this was a pretty cool opportunity to get into one. So yeah, it just sat in the back of the shop and collecting dust. And 6 weeks before SEMA, a friend of mine had contacted me about the opportunity to do the truck for SEMA. They had a slot for Red Cap. So yeah, I jumped on it early on, like anything. I was like, yeah, I got this, shouldn't be too hard. I had most of the parts. I already thought I had really started the truck, but like anything, as I tore into it, I was pretty deep. So it was a pretty heavy grind those 6 weeks. I was gone every weekend going to contests. I think in October, every weekend I was out of town. So I would leave, Thursday or Friday, come home, Sunday night, Monday morning, or wherever I was, and just jump back on it. So towards the end, leading up to SEMA, I would come home at like 2, 3 in the morning, wake up at 7, go back to the shop. I ended up assembling that truck at Hillview as my shop in my house. I stayed in that power, and ran. So it was a pretty heavy grind. There was times where I was pretty nervous that I wasn't getting the thing together, but luckily with some help from some friends and a lot of late nights, we got together and got that thing to SEMA. I've never followed the rules of really keeping anything too air correct, or hunting down old vintage speed equipment or stuff like that. I've always liked it. I've always really appreciated it, but the time and energy or fun, some of the stuff that goes into tracking that stuff down, and just maybe I was too impatient when I was building these Model A's, but with this one, kind of do it right. It's the first time I've done that. I'm really excited about it. Take some time throughout the winter here to build it, get it together. I'm still collecting parts. Everything's all vintage speed equipment and old Ford stuff, so just finding buddies that have stuff or tracking stuff down is a little more timely than. So we'll gather all the parts and log the build and do a couple web edits to kind of showcase the progress of the project coming together, and then us driving across the country from California to New Jersey and racing this thing on the beach at the Race of Gentlemen. I'm really looking forward to it. I have some good buddies that are helping with this project, and it's more about the experience and just having fun with it. Instead of building a car in my garage by myself, it's kind of everything that goes into trading parts and working with your buddies and getting something together, and then the Great American Road Trip, and just checking stuff out and have as much fun with the cars as we can. I'm really excited about that event. The whole idea of going to an event where you actually participate and you drive your car. Everybody doesn't stand around and kind of just kick tires. I'm excited about that. Seeing these old cars actually getting kind of flogged, and I'll always ride my bike. I ride my bike as long as I can, and I've always done the car stuff. It's always been for fun. They've always been my own cars, or my own ideas, or hopefully have buddies come over and help and learn as much as I can from them. But yeah, moving forward with some of the opportunities that came about just through contacts that I met throughout the years doing the car stuff. I'm pretty excited about 2015. I'll be doing a few more cars that actually have direction. This Roadster going to the Race of Gentlemen. We'll document the whole build of this car. I have some really good friends that are helping with this project. I'm pretty excited about, and yeah, to actually have a deadline or a reason to build a car, that's all kind of new. This thing going to the Race of Gentlemen, and then from there to SEMA, and this will be a vehicle that I'll actually take out more often, try to go, take to more shows, and kind of just drive the wheels off of it. Before, there was never, I never had deadlines or reasons to build vehicles other than just that I wanted them. So this is kind of new, and kind of a new venture in the sense that I'm building building cars this year with my buddies, and they kind of have a goal more than just to build myself a car.